What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be looking at the top 5 changes that have been made to Call of Duty World War II since the first 2 weekends of the beta. We're now into the PC beta, and a bunch of changes have been made to the game itself. Keeping in mind with this video, we're not looking at like PC specific features, we're looking at actual changes that were made to the game itself that are almost definitely going to be following suit in the console build of the game. Keep in mind with the gameplay in the background, it might be a little bit on the choppy side. I'm still trying to get the perfect settings for recording on my PC. I've been struggling with that quite a bit, but I got it to the point where it's definitely playable at least. And also, just keep in mind, I'm still getting used to that mouse and keyboard on CoD, so you're not going to be seeing the best gameplay out there, but I'm starting to get the hang of it. I still have to tweak my sensitivities a little bit though. So first up, I gotta start it off with the thing that I noticed first, and the thing that I love the most. They have new Hitmarker Sounds. These are huge, this is great, this is one of my biggest complaints with the game in the first beta weekends, as well as with the alpha build of the game, just looking at gameplays and everything like that. Their hit feedback system was just terrible. There were several times where you were getting hit markers where it wasn't playing audio for that hit feedback, so it felt like hit detection was actually much worse than it was, because you were getting hit markers, but you weren't hearing those hit markers, so you couldn't feel the hit markers. They have completely revamped the audio for that. They have completely new Hitmarker sounds for both body hits, headshot hits, as well as killing blows. And just to give you guys a comparison here, let's play some audio from the previous betas. This is the old Hitmarker sounds. Now have a listen to the new Hitmarker sounds. And one more time, just playing them kind of back to back to each other so you guys can hear that difference. In my opinion, it sounds much better now. I'm really happy that it actually plays a hit marker sound every time you get a hit marker, so you can feel how many hits that you're getting, and you're not left guessing at all. Plus, I absolutely love a really distinctive headshot sound. It's just the kind of thing that when you're going for headshots for camos and stuff, it just feels so good every time you get one of those headshots. It just adds so much to that kill by hearing that really loud ping. So that was the first big change, and probably my favorite change so far out of all of this. The second one is actually gun balancing. We don't have every little detail on this, but Michael Condrey did give us some information on what exactly they changed. First up, across the board for all of the SMGs, they reduced their damage per second as well as their range. I was definitely noticing this, especially with the Type 100 so far. There were several situations where I was turning away from people where I had shot them. I thought I shot them enough because I used the Type 100 so much in the console betas. I would shoot them and be like, okay, that should be enough, they're dead. I start turning away, and I realize I have to put another shot into them. And I was definitely noticing this at those mid to somewhat longer ranges. And I think that's great, because in the console betas, the SMGs were by far the dominant class. The STG was also very, very good, but as a class, the SMGs were by far the best. So it's good to see a little bit of a nerf in that way. So they made it so they're less effective at range, as they should be, but they didn't significantly harm their close range effectiveness, and I'm really happy to see that that was the change that they made. The next weapon balancing change was with the STG. They actually increased the recoil a little bit on the STG. Unfortunately, comparing between PC and console though, it's really hard to get a feel for the difference in recoil, so I can't tell you that I've really felt this or really haven't felt this yet. But it is nice to see that they recognize the STG as one of the more powerful weapons, and they're toning it down just a little bit without completely destroying it. And finally, for weapon balancing, the M1A1 as well as the 1911 and the P08 all got an increase to their maximum potential fire rate. This is excellent to see. The M1A1, I'm really glad to see this especially, just because it didn't really seem to compete with the M1 Garand that well, because it had the same fire rate as the M1 Garand, but less damage. So now it's got slightly faster fire rate, you've got a reason to use that over the Garand. And then the 1911 and P08, I'm glad to see that as well. I felt like the fire rate cap was way too slow on those guns. Even though the damage potential is decent on those, I just felt like the fire rate was way too slow. And I did notice a difference here in the PC beta, and I like what I'm seeing so far. So that was the second point here, was those weapon balancing changes. So far, so good. I think they're making the right changes. And I'm glad they're taking like smaller steps, and then they're going to monitor and see what else needs to be changed. I'm sure there's going to be more changes in the near future, but so far, so good. Moving on to the third big change that they made to the beta. This is actually on one map in particular, and you guys may have noticed this. On Aachen, they actually changed up quite a bit with that map. a lot of little things. They took out a lot of head glitch areas, they took out a lot of pieces of cover and made it so it's going to be less people just sitting behind one piece of cover locking down a lane, and more so just like encouraging people to move around the map a bit more. Plus, they actually closed off one of the lanes a little, especially towards middle, and I really like this. It makes it so you feel like you can move across these lanes a little bit safer, because as it was before, it was a little too open and there were way too many different directions you could be shot from at any given time. It still has that same look and feel and overall layout. They just made a few changes that I think are definitely positive changes for this map. As for number 4, this one's a really minor one, but I still like what I'm seeing here. The loading screens when you're loading up a map. Before, it was just one static image and it would just load the map and that was it. It was kind of boring. Now they've got several different static images and then they like zoom and pan and stuff, so at least there's something going on in the background. It's such a minor thing, but it is a slight improvement in my opinion. Now finally, for number 5, this is the connection bars. We now have connection bars, at least in the PC beta. We see those. In the first 2 betas, you might remember, there was no ping bar, there was no connection bar, there was nothing telling you what your connection was like, and you were just kind of left guessing. So now at least we have those bars, so you can see if you're on a 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar. Unfortunately, no ping numbers, and I really hope at least the PC version gets their ping numbers. With console, I can understand that they want to make things super simple and everything. I really hope we see these bars at least end up on console, and I think we will. But in addition to that, we also got the little network indicators right above the kill feed on the left-hand side of the screen. These indicators will tell you if you're experiencing packet loss at the moment, or high latency, or something along those lines, and I love this. It's returning from Infinite Warfare, and the thing I really like about these is you can actually see what went on in that situation. If you get yourself into a situation without these network indicators, you're often just left guessing. It's like, was that my fault, or was that a connection thing? Like, what just happened there? Whereas with those indicators, you can see for sure that it was definitely a network issue and it wasn't necessarily your fault that you lost that particular situation. I also think it's great and it helps people improve, because when those indicators aren't popping up on the side of the screen, then you pretty much know it was your fault and you need to work to improve at whatever just happened in that situation. So it prevents people from using connection as a scapegoat, but it also gives you that information and lets you know that, yeah, something was actually going on there, and it wasn't necessarily all your fault that you died in that situation. The one downside to having these indicators, though, is now you're probably going to end up seeing a lot more connection complaints, because people can actually see every time they drop a packet or drop a few packets. Whereas without these indicators, most of the time people won't even notice a little bit of packet loss here and there, and therefore they've got nothing to complain about because they don't even notice. But when they see those little indicators pop up, even if they have no actual effect on their gameplay at that current moment, they've got a lot more to complain about. I think overall though, it's definitely a positive thing, and I'm happy to see these network icons appear. So there we have it. Those are the top 5 changes that have been made to the game since the first 2 beta weekends. I'd like to know in the comment section below, first off, out of all of these 5 changes, which is your favorite to see? And second, was there any other change that I missed, keeping in mind that we're not just looking at PC specific features here, we're looking at changes to the game in general. Was there any that I missed in this video? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.